Hi, good morning. My name is Raquel, and today is Sunday, the 13th of May, and welcome to all new and returning viewers. I didn't film last week because I was at my parents' place and the internet connection there is not very good, so I would have had, it would have taken way too long to upload a podcast. What I might do in the future is maybe film one anyway and then upload it either on the Sunday evening, depending on when I get home, or on the Monday. But seeing as I didn't have that much to show last week anyway, I decided to not film anything and then just film today. I will maybe add in a couple of videos that I filmed while at the farm, but I'll get into that later and explain what the videos are. So in terms of knitting, I have only one finished object to show you. We're talking about socks for Sock Madness. I was unable to get into the top 10 for round 4 of Sock Madness. For some reason these socks took forever to knit. It took me a whole week to knit, and when you see them you'll understand why, but I'm still disappointed in myself that I wasn't able to knit them faster, because despite them being in color work, the patterns that I was using was pretty straightforward, and I didn't really have to look at the chart, so I could have easily done it more faster, but I didn't have that much time over the weekend, and then once work starts during the week I don't have that much time either. So because of that I did modify the second sock, because while you're in the running of the competition you have to knit the socks as intended by the designer. If you're a cheerleader, which from now on I'll be a cheerleader until the end of the competition, you can modify the socks any way you like to adjust your tastes. So I'm going to show you the first sock that I finished, and then I'll take it off the blocker to show you properly to give you the whole effect. So here's the first sock, and yes, it is bright yellow. It is neon yellow. I used the Socks Yeah by Coop Knits. In the blue is Benny Toit, and the yellow is Helium. And just here you can see the word starts here, dragon, and that's what's supposed to be on the sock. And so these are the dragon scales all the way down the front, and this pattern is so simple to knit. After the first repeat you can see what you have to do. So I didn't really look at the chart for this. I did need to look at the chart for this little guy, which is the dragon at the back, and the designer intended for, so this is the left sock and then this is the right sock, so the dragons are facing the opposite ways. Now what I did, like I said, I modified, I'd already modified in terms of length, which we're allowed to do, and that's the cuff. The cuff had requested only 4 repeats of this cabled pattern. I did 6 repeats. I really like these socks, and I plan on knitting them again in a different color, and I already know what text I'm going to be putting on the bottom of the foot. However, one thing I will modify is do a much longer repeat of the cuff. Once on the leg, it tends to shorten quite a bit, and what I probably will also do is go down to, I knit these on 225s up until here on the leg, and then from the heel flap onwards I knit them on 2 millimeters. So what I probably will do is go up a needle size to 2.5 and knit the 72 stitch sock. These are 84 stitches. And I find that the cuff at the top is actually quite loose on the leg, and it doesn't hold up the socks like they should. So my modifications, other than that, which was on both socks and straight from the beginning, that was the length. In terms of that, we weren't able to modify anything else on the sock. And in terms of length on the foot, we just had to carry on making, adding either full repeats of or half repeats of the scale pattern. But what I did, as I already knew that I hadn't passed through to the next round, I decided to change the text on the bottom of the foot, and instead of saying dragon like the original one says, which you can probably see better if I do this. So there's the word dragon. I decided to put sorry. I decided to put the name of the pattern, which is Expecto Draconum. So that's what it says on the right sock. So now I have a nice pair of socks to wear. And yeah, like I said, I will be knitting these again. And I already planned to do something with this stitch pattern as well, which I'll show you in a minute. So other than the socks, I haven't finished anything else. I have been working on a sweater I started before I started the socks, which is in my own project bag. And that that is the Easy One by Joji Locatelli. I had planned on starting a cardigan, but seeing as this one was basically ready to go, I still have to swatch for the other one. I decided to just pick this one up because I didn't have to swatch for this one. I've already made this sweater, and I already knew what needle size to use and what size I was going to make. This time I was going to make a couple sizes bigger than last time. So I decided to just cast this one on, and here it is so far. So let's see. So I've already done the neck, so that's done. And I still need to put this one going every 10 rounds, so I know how many rounds more I need to go. And I've done about maybe a third through the body, which you can't really see because I like knitting on small gables, small circumference. But yeah, so I've done about maybe a third here of the body. Then I still have to do the sleeves, and depending on how many balls I use on the body, I'm already on the let's see, 2, 4, 6. I'm on the 6th ball of yarn, and have another 6 left over. So depending on how many I use for the body, because I might make it slightly longer than it's supposed to be, then I'll see how many balls of yarn I have left over for the sleeves. Seeing as this pattern is going to fall more or less here anyway, like when I put it on, the sleeves don't have to be super long, so I'm hoping I have enough, at least 1 ball of yarn to make both sleeves. So yeah, that's my pattern so far, or that's the sweater so far, and I'm really liking it. It's pretty much mindless knitting at the moment. It's just going round in circles. And the yarn I'm using is, this one is the Katia Concept Gobi Lace. You can just see there that it's baby camel and merino extra fine, and it's kind of like it's not a ply, it's a cable. It's like if you can see, it's like a crochet chain, and it's really soft. It is very easy to work with. Despite it saying Gobi lace, it's considered a worsted weight yarn, and each skein is about 25 grams and has about 160 meters, which it goes for quite a, you can knit quite a bit with it, but on the sweater it goes quickly. Now, another thing I've been doing, and I didn't do that last night, so that's what I'm going to start with today, is weaving in the ends as I go along. So for the last 2 balls that I attached to the sweater, I still need to weave in the ends. I can see a couple ends. I still need to weave them in and snip them off, and there's a couple more in there. So that's what I've been doing, so that when I get to the end of the sweater and I cast off, I just have the one end left to sew in, and then I can start wearing it. Although, well, I don't know, maybe at night it does get chilly still a bit, so it might still be a sweater that I could wear. And that's what I've been working on. Yesterday I went to Ovelha Negra in the morning. The dogs went up to the farm to my parents. I went I was supposed to have a workshop yesterday morning, and that fell through at the last minute, so I decided to go to Ovelha Negra instead in the morning. And while I was there, there was another workshop going on. I didn't know about that, but I just stood by my friend Joanna, and we just chatted the whole morning quietly, so we didn't disturb the people doing the workshop. And while I was there, I was saying how I wanted to make the intersect pattern by Noragon for Brooklyn Tweed. It's a lovely cardigan, and I've had it in my queue for ages. I've already got the pattern, and I've never really... The only reason I haven't knit it till now is because I've not yet decided on which yarn to use. The original pattern calls for Brooklyn Tweed Loft. Maybe if I lived in the US, I would probably get the Loft, but here in Europe it's quite hard to get. It's not that hard to get, but it's quite pricey to get, and unless I can find a good deal, it's not worth getting. So I was going to substitute with either holding the Olivia yarn double, or holding one strand of Olivia and one strand of Ophelia, which is all Ovelha Negra yarn, by the way. And then they just had new Vitória yarn coming in, which is 100% Portuguese wool, and I've never worked with it. So I asked Joanna if she had like a little ball of, like a little leftover from a cone or something that I could just quickly knit a swatch with and see what if I like working with it, and what kind of gauge I would get. And so this is what I did. I knit just plain stockinette, because the gauge that they give in the pattern is plain stockinette, and then did a couple of cables, because the whole cardigan, there's a lot of cables in the cardigan, and it requires quite a lot of yarn. So this is going to go, I'm going to block this as soon as I finish podcasting today. And at the moment I have 24 stitches by 34 rows, and the pattern calls for 22 stitches by 34 rows. So in terms of row gauge, I have that. In terms of stitch gauge, I'm 2 stitches off. I have too many stitches, but I know this yarn is going to bloom a lot after blocking, so I'm hoping that I get the correct stitch gauge, and that will be a first for me, because I used the needle size that they recommended, which was the 4mm, is a US 6 size, and I'm pretty much on gauge with that one. I really would not want to go up to a 4.5 to get gauge, so I'm hoping that with after blocking that I get maybe not the 22, but maybe like 23 stitches, and then the size I'm gonna knit, which I've already decided on anyway, should be okay. Even if it's a bit bigger or something, then, or a bit smaller, it's a cardigan. It'll fit. It'll stretch a bit, but it'll fit. So this is going to be hopefully my June project or my July project. I've not bought the yarn yet, but I have chosen the color. It's going to be a nice light gray, because I don't see myself wearing a cardigan in this color. At least, well, no, I don't. I prefer like grays and blacks, but blacks the cables won't be visible at all, and I'm not going to do all that work with all the cabling and not have it visible. So that's going to go to be blocked. Then while I was there, I just was not able, I wasn't supposed to buy any yarn. I wasn't planning on buying any yarn, but I was unable to resist buying these 2 skeins. Malabriga Rios. This is Frank Ochre, and this is Teal Feather. And of course, it has to do with this stitch pattern. So I'm going to make a hat out of these 2 yarns using this stitch pattern all the way around. And I'm going to have to figure out how to do the decreases at the top, but that's what this is planned for. Then I had lunch with Joanna, and then after lunch I went to Lana Agulha in Famalicão, where we had the knit group. And while there, I returned some yarn for a sweater I made, and I had way too much left over. And from that I got some of the new yarn she has, which is, sorry about the twinkling. So she just got this in this week, which is Meadow by the Fiber Company, and it is 40% wool, 25% llama, 20% silk, and 15% linen. It's 100 grams, 498 meters, and 545 yards. And I decided to go with these. And all the colors that she has in the shop, I actually chose, because she asked my opinion, and I gave her my opinion in terms of colors, and she ended up choosing all the colors I chose. But I went with this one. I brought home these two. So I've got 200 grams here, and I'm planning on making a sweater, which is a pattern by the Fiber Company as well. I can't remember it right now, the name of it, but it's in a booklet they've just released, and so that's my plan. Now, probably for the size I'm going to be knitting, this will not be enough. But I have some, I believe it's Debbie Bliss lace that I bought at Ovega like years and years ago, and I'm planning on adding that to the very bottom of the sweater, because I'll just do as much as possible in this yarn, and then add the gray lace, which is probably slightly thinner than this yarn, but it'll work fine. I'll just add that to the bottom of the sweater, because I think it's going to pair nicely with this color. And yeah, so I'm trying to make sweaters in colors that aren't my usual colors, because otherwise I tend to wear all the blues and greens, and then I feel like when I go to the office, and because I've been wearing my sweaters all winter long, people might think I'm wearing the same sweater like the whole week, which isn't true, because there's different patterns on them, there's different shapes and everything, but that's the general feeling I get when people like look at me like, is she wearing the same sweater? No. But so I'm trying to make a couple sweaters with different color yarn so that I can alternate colors, hence this one, which is also not really my color. Actually, yesterday I was wearing this dress, and I was knitting on the sweater, and I was like, well, I can now wear this dress in the winter because I have something to cover up with, and this sweater goes really nice with that dress. So that was that. Then Angela, the owner of Donna Willia, asked me to do a workshop on shawls, because she's had some requests from people wanting to knit shawls, but they weren't sure which shawl they wanted to knit and what shape they wanted to knit. So Angela and I were looking at a couple of shawls on Ravelry, and then we decided, you know what, why don't I just design my own shawl, decide on the shape, decide on a simple lace pattern, just to add a little bit of interest to the shawl. And so that's what we did for an hour. So I've decided on the shape of the shawl, decided on the stitch pattern. I will show you the yarn I will be using, which Angela kindly gave me for knitting the shawl. The shawl will then be hanging in the shop for sale. And what we're going to do is, I might show little sneak peeks of the pattern, but I will not be showing the whole shawl, the whole effect of the shawl, until after I've done the workshop and after I've released the pattern on Ravelry. So the yarn, so what we did for an hour, after deciding on the shape of the shawl and the stitch pattern I was going to use, we decided to go through her store and see what yarns we could possibly use for the pattern. And we took some photos of possible combinations of kits, and she's going to upload that onto her Facebook page and Instagram page, so that she'll indicate which how many of each kit is available. Of course, you're free to use whatever yarn you want, but the one I'm going to be using for the prototype, so to speak, is going to be Manos del Uruguay Alegria yarn in the eucalyptus colorway. And sorry, yarn fell on the floor, and that's not a good idea with the cat. And Ming, this is Ming colorway, so there's a lot of colors in here. There's a lot of blues and pinks and a bit of orangey yellows, and then some of this, where is it, this darker teal, and I think it pairs really nicely. Nice contrast with this. So it's going to be striped in a certain way, but like I said, I won't give anything away. I'll show you maybe previews while I'm knitting on it. I will be taking some photos for Instagram and all that, but I won't show like the overall effect or what lace pattern I'm using, just to keep a bit of secret, which is what we decided on. Then, in terms of the cal I was doing, that I'm hosting together with Angela from Donna Aguilha, is we made a decision yesterday as well on that, is that it's going to be a year-long cal. So instead of going, it started on the 1st of March, and the idea behind the cal was to celebrate 5 years of the shop being open. So instead of finishing at the end of the year, so 31st of December, we're going to finish it on the 28th of February, which is going to be a full year of the cal. Then what we've decided is I'm going to add a couple more patterns, suggestions into the first post that I posted with the thing. Feel free to make any suggestions yourself. I'll put them up at the top. By no means are you obligated to knit any of the suggestions I put up there. What we do require, though, is that you knit at least 50 grams, and you have to use the full 50 grams of any yarn that has been bought at Donna Aguilha over the years. So even if it's yarn you bought like maybe 3 years ago at Donna Aguilha, you can use that for a project. So you can knit any project you want, as long as you use 50 grams or more with yarn bought at Donna Aguilha. Those are the only like rules that we've set. And that's it for today. I'm gonna edit this and then start writing up the shawl pattern, because I've already decided on the shape and the stitch pattern, and then carry on with my sweater, because I want to finish that as soon as possible, and I want to do the shawl quickly as well, because I still need to block the shawl and everything. I'm not going to measure, I'm not going to do a gauge swatch. I've already decided what needle size I'm going to be using for the shawl. Probably 4.5 millimeters needle for this yarn. Just real quick, this yarn is like super, it's a fingering weight yarn, but it's super fluffy and super squishy, and I think I'm going to use a 4 millimeter needle for that. So that's it for today. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Sunday, play with the cat, do some knitting, watch some TV. I have a whole bunch of series taped that I haven't been able to watch. One other thing, I found this little microphone, wearing it right here. So I'm hoping that the sound quality is better and that you don't hear the fan of the computer. So let me know your comments if the sound is better this way. If it is, I'll continue using the external mic rather than just the computer mic. So yeah. So have a nice Sunday, or whenever it is you're watching this, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. Bye.